these developments over time, and again, you've rooted them. I mean, you talk about what was practiced in Rome and the progression of how Christianity changed that, where we got to now. But it seems, as I talk to people, especially older Christians here in where I'm at, they're surprised at just how much things have changed in the last 25 years. There's been a massive shift. What has helped aid in that shift?
It's a post-Christian shift. It's interesting. C.S. Lewis talked about the difference between post-Christianity and pre-Christianity. We are not living in a pagan culture because even those who we might describe nowadays as pagans have been so thoroughly Christianized. And he said it's the difference between a post-Christian culture and a pre-Christian culture is a bit like the difference between a maiden and a divorcee. Having gone through marriage, you're in a different kind of position to where you were before. And I think our culture is not a maiden. Our culture has been Christianized in lots of different ways, and we've come out the other side. And in so many ways, what you do if you take the value, let's say, of equality, and you divorce it from the Christian story, you end up with something like individualism. Okay, like it's Christianity that has taught us that we are made in God's image, and within the church there are no lords except Christ himself, and we're all brothers and sisters, and that gives us this, that has invented the individual, socially and politically. In the post-Christian West, we don't have the Lord Jesus over us anymore. We don't believe in the image of God anymore. It's just, I have my rights. Well, that's going to lead to a heck of a lot of individualism, expressive individualism. Compassion in the Christian story is about, well, be a good Samaritan. If there's someone who's a victim by the side of the road, help them. Do the Christ-like thing, and honor and praise, victims. Nowadays, in the post-Christian West, we have what we call competitive victimhood. Okay, we're not racing to help the victim, we're racing to become the victim. And because compassion has become this transcendent value, but divorced from Christ and the gospel, it just sort of hangs there in the ether, and be kind becomes a hashtag and a cover for all manner of cruelty and intolerance in the name of compassion, right? When you divorce these values from Christ and from his gospel, a lot gets distorted. So we've got individualism, competitive victimhood, and then the third value I talk about in the book is consent. And as I say, divorced from Christ and his gospel, consent has become the only value to bring to bear in the sexual realm. And so your choice determines everything in matters of sex. So what do you have in a culture that is individualistic, it's into competitive victimhood, and where choice, especially choice in sexual matters, determines everything? Well, you get the sexual climate that we've got, in which my choice, especially around sexual matters, my individual choice, and no one can tell me different, my biology can't tell me any different. It's not about anything in nature. It's not about anything in culture. It's certainly not about anything in church or God or religion or any sense of authority. Me as an individual, I am making choices as regards sex and sexuality and gender. And even if that puts me into a tiny minority, I'm in a minority that ought to be lauded and preserved and protected. And so what our sexual culture is all about is it's not a pagan sexuality. It's a post-Christian sexuality, and it's been forged by Christian-ish values. It's also been aided and abetted by all sorts of technology, because through the pill and through abortion, the link between sex and kids, which is what ought to make us sane about sex and sexuality, and it is what has made societies more or less sane-ish about sex and sexuality around the world down through history. That's been cut, and that's what enables us to fly free of culture, fly free of nature, and instead construct their own sexual identities individually and according simply to my own choice. Consequences be damned, culture be damned, nature be damned. And that's the moment that we're in.